Hey everyone. Welcome to another exciting episode. Um, so I'm on a cruise ship, uh, which which means that the satellite internet may not hold in, but we'll see. That seems to be working okay at the moment. Um, of course, the more I just talk, the less I know whether it is actually working or not. Uh, so I have to keep making goofy jokes. That way I see you laugh and I know that it's still working all right. Um, cool. Um, we'll see, double check. Yeah. And there's my bandwidth usage done. No, it was, it's like 25, $27 a day or something like that, which I'm totally happy about. Lots of people complain about. I'm like, that's fine. You don't want to use the internet. I'm very happy for you to keep off the internet and leave it to me to be able to use. So, yeah, I smuggled on, Muddy, you appreciate it. I smuggled on a little travel router, and so I'm sharing the one connection across a bunch of devices, and it's working great. So, geeking out a little bit. Yep, everything can see the very slow internet. I actually think that they're probably prioritizing Zoom traffic, which is good. It's very good. All right. So the typical setup is questions posted on the through the dashboard. There's not many of us. There's quality here, not quantity. So um, we can see we might even be able to. Have we got any questions there yet, Heather?
Yeah, we have one from Muddy. He wants to know
Awesome.
how we can duplicate an event and move it between two organizations with different owners if both owners agree. We basically want to duplicate a dashboard we created in a client organization and to use it as a template.
Yeah, so we haven't created functionality for that, but it is something that support can do, like we can do quite easily. And so we just need some sort of approval, like if it would be great to get an email of the outgoing owner and the incoming owner, um, like approval from both. And once we see that, then we can do it, and it's super quick. So happy to just do that as required. I'm sure it's not too often. So yeah, cool. That was an easy one.
Yeah,
Anything
and
else?
that was the only
Muddy?
one.
Okay. All right. Thanks, everyone. See ya. Muddy, what do you got?
I have another separate question. I had an interesting situation happen in an event where I had a couple machines in the event, so I joined regularly, and then the second machine I joined with the kind of special alt host capability, so it was in as an alt host, and then I had two other machines in as co-hosts, as the first two co-hosts. And part of the reason I do it in this sequence is that if I, as the host, the person who started the Zoom meeting through Obvio, if I fall off the meeting, it will default to the next co-host or the alt host, and and that happened. I fell off the meeting, my machine froze up, and I had to restart my primary machine. No problem. Came back in. When I came back into Avio, what I noticed, and luckily this all happened kind of in an hour before the meeting, so I was getting everything set up and prepped, and so I had the time to do it. It didn't affect the meeting, but what I noticed is when I came back into Avio on my primary machine, it showed that the room was closed. So the toggle for the room was closed. even though the meeting was still running and I had 3 machines in the meeting, it's running, but it toggled to close. And so anyone using the speaker link, we had a couple of speakers and, or any of the attendees would have gotten an offline error. In fact, I used that opportunity to test that theory. I thought, and I refreshed the page to make sure. And I thought, let me just check the speaker link to see what happens. And sure enough, the speaker link came up and said, the meeting is offline, the room is offline. And so I'm just curious. I'm just sharing the experience I had. Luckily, it wasn't a major impact. I've toggled the room back on, joined the room, and it worked just fine. But I'm curious what you think may have happened in that situation, or if you've seen that kind of behavior happen before. And the last thing I'll say is that I have had reports from time to time that the speakers or attendees are getting an offline message when I'm like, the room is open, the area is open, I'm in the meeting. Like, there should be no reason that I can see that they would be getting an offline message. But I hadn't. Anyway, maybe this is something I need to go and check to see if, this is something that happens from time to time, that the system toggles off the room. So anyway, I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. So there's good news and bad news. Good news is that you haven't done anything, wacky or anything that has caused that, and the fact that you dropped off the meeting and things like that has nothing to do with it. The bad news is that that Zoom has a problem at the moment with its live reporting of numbers. And it's happening across their system, and we're in touch with them, and they've given us, they're aware of it, so it is a problem on their side. What this means for us is that if Zoom is incorrectly reporting how many people are in the meeting, there's a bunch of processes that we have that automate based on those numbers, right? So if Zoom now says that there is no one in that meeting, then after a certain amount of time, that room in Obvio will go offline, right? As you've seen before, like you don't have to go and hit offline or take the room, close the room.
Sure.
It just happens automatically, right?
Yeah.
And so, but if they're incorrectly reporting that there's no one in the room, then we've got a big problem. And that's what we're seeing from time to time at the moment. It is inconsistent, but we are working at the highest level with Zoom to get this resolved. So we're also trying to think about workarounds that we can do. It's a big challenge because, well, and the thing is too, we're saying back to Zoom, they're saying that it's going to take months for them to fix it, and it doesn't make any sense because we're saying that this is not just a developer issue. Like the numbers reporting in the Zoom dashboard are incorrect. So it seems like a big issue. Anyway, where we literally had emails going back and forth just a couple of hours ago. So we are on it. At the moment, like this meeting, it's working fine. We went online. Obvio's reporting numbers fine. It's inconsistent, but that gives you a bit more insight as to what's going on. And unfortunately, as you just said at the end, perhaps you have to check every now and again. But when we hear back from them again, hopefully in the next couple of days, we'll need to work on whether we're going to do some manual overrides or something that that kind of can handle this. So
cool.
Yeah.
Well, it is in fact encouraging that it wasn't me, and it wasn't
right.
it wasn't something that I did on my end.
Mm-hmm.
And to have an understanding that this is something it's a systematic issue, and I'm glad. Thank you for working on it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. It's sort of like it's not a mystery as to what happened. It there is actually a reason for it, so that's good. Cool. Um, Robin, I think you had a similar experience, right?
I tried to log into a Zoom that I know it was absolutely open and it said it was closed. And I've never gotten it, you know, I was logging into a dashboard in Avio and I got the Zoom pop-up window saying it was offline, which I've never gotten in an Avio meeting before, only in a Zoom meeting. So it was really weird to see that. I was
Hmm.
so confused as to why was that coming up? I know it was an Avio user, so really strange. But I did have a question too. Um, the same time all this was happening, Linda and I were actually having a meeting with a gentleman who's a non-Avio user. So he's never logged into Avio before. And she had her dashboard open. He couldn't get in, and it was saying that he needed a passcode and not a password ID, but a passcode. And he couldn't get in. So I said, maybe you didn't set something up right with your dashboard. Let's switch to mine because that one absolutely works. So we switched over and he still couldn't get in. And it still kept saying he needed a passcode. And so I was looking in Zoom and I found where it said password ID and that didn't work. And it just wouldn't let him in, and he was quite irritated with us. So I don't know if that's part of a Zoom problem or is there something else that we missed?
It's hard to diagnose exactly what that was. My guess is that he wasn't following the link exactly,
We
and
both
that it
sent
was.
him the link, his own private link, not the general one, and
Mhm.
it he couldn't get past a Zoom window.
Mm. Yeah, so it can happen. It can happen when the link is not complete, and that's nothing from the Obvio point of view, but what's happening on their computer um, can can do that. The other thing is, yeah, as Marty said, I don't know if you were able to test as him. Um, that would be one thing just to see what the Obvio dashboard was doing. Um, and we've also had, I'm not saying this is what happened in this case, but we have people that think they know how Zoom works, and so then they're taking the meeting ID and they're typing that in, and then it will ask for a passcode.
Well,
And then
he did say that he tried to put it into the Zoom, and we're like, no, you just click on the link and it'll open it up. And he said he tried it and the window would not open. Nothing happened when he clicked on the link. So he copied it and pasted it into Zoom. And
right,
we're like, it's
yeah,
not
which
a
won't
Zoom.
work. Yeah,
Yeah, it's an Obvio, it's not a Zoom, so that's not gonna work at all. So he was quite
yeah,
irritated once we finally got him in. We just started a regular Zoom link. It was like-
right.
so so that's not something that you've heard of before, or
Well, yeah, yeah. As like absolutely, if he's going to copy a link in, then it won't work.
yeah.
Because that's circumventing the security that we've created with Ovio. And so um, yeah, it won't get through, and it'll ask for a passcode, and you haven't got that, and all of that. So yeah, it sounds like that. It's a rare case sometimes where the way that Zoom is installed or not installed on the computer can also mess with that, and so it's not launching.
He was
So
in
when
Canada. Would that have anything to do with it? No.
no,
Well, I
no,
don't know. His email address was wonky because, I guess because he was in Canada. I'm like, we have a lot of Canadians, like, that they can get into Avio. Like, why? Would that be? I'm not just trying to figure out any way.
Obvio was created by a Canadian,
I
so I'm
know.
confident it'll work. Yeah, so it sounds like a bit of a mystery, but yeah, I think the troubleshooting those sorts of things is it's always like sort of stepping through processes. So like Muddy was saying, taking their link
Mhm.
and seeing that it works on your computer and gets you into Zoom and everything's okay, that that narrows down the problem that it is, right? Like
Okay.
and now it's like, okay, so this is something that's happening on your computer. Is there another device you can use just to test? Can you open this up on your phone, step through the process, and does it work fine on your phone? Okay, so now it's not anything on our side, it's something to do with your computer setup, and so then sometimes that disarms it a little bit, particularly when people are getting upset, um, because then it really identifies that actually it's something on that device, and and yeah, that then it makes it a bit clearer. And plus, you can get them on the phone or whatever, and then it works.
Okay. I'll test this link to see if we can get it to work. But he just thought we were both dumb because we couldn't give him the passcode. And it's like there isn't a passcode you can put in there. So but okay, I'll give it a try. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, and Muddy had that good suggestion there of the speaker link too. It's another way of doing it. So yeah, cool. Um,
Our next question is from Jeff. He said he's unable to select certificates, and he wants to share his screen to show you what's
sure,
going on.
go ahead.
Hey Grant, sorry for the
Hey,
crazy voice today.
oh, you
But
under the
yeah,
weather?
yeah, it's the first freeze hit. I was in the state of Michigan and that didn't go well. My voice was just like, okay, I'll show you what I'm working on.
Wow.
So I just finished a training and this has only been happening today. Well,
Hmm.
shoot, my head's in the middle of the dumb thing, so you can't see it. Let me do this. It worked well till it didn't. Huh? All right, here we go. So when I try to move my arrow over, it disappears.
Huh.
I've tried slow, I've tried fast, I tried saying a prayer, I chanted something, and no luck. So it like never lets me get down to
Oh
certificates.
my goodness.
I can get to forms, but as soon as I start to move down, oh, there we go. Now I got to it. But
Something's not right there.
I've tried that probably 20 times before this call.
So I was just on your event actually before I
Uh-huh.
even asked the question out loud, and I wasn't having any problems on my end.
Weird. What would that be?
Your computer hates you today.
Well, other than that, we've established
Um,
Yeah, I don't know. There it is.
that's a that's a
You've not
weird
seen that
one.
before?
Well, not that specifically. No, we have had a couple of little UI um, little bugs in the last couple of days,
Okay.
and so we've been pushing some little updates, and so I wondered if it was a symptom of that, but it doesn't look like um, I'm seeing that.
Yeah. And if I can add a quick
That's fine.
feature request, some of our
Yep.
clients are requiring that the some of our clients are requiring that the date appear on the certificate. Is it possible to
Mm.
have the event date be one of the variables here? They're needing a date and then I think a timestamp in order to give credit. It's a government kind of a thing. The date and the timestamp has to have to be on the certificate.
And is that not something that you would just type in?
We can we could create we have a PDF for I mean we do this training multiple times, sometimes a week. So we could just
Mm.
add it to the PDF, but I was wondering if it's something that Obvi could do. If so, save us a
because
step.
it changes regularly for you.
Yeah, like we could do this event, 5 times this week, for
I
example,
see. I see.
and then we'd have to, add it each time. So, yeah, just wanted to mention that if that's possible.
What if you were to use a group, so that
Okay,
you had a because you can add group values in there, right? And so
I see.
if the group value, you just added one for what date um, they were doing the course, um,
Yeah.
then you can just add that straight in, and then it will work every time. Because the thing that I'm thinking about, as you're saying, is I'm like, the problem with the event date is how much it changes, right? Like,
Hmm.
and often we're keeping that window really wide so that Zoom works nicely.
Yeah.
So it feels like that date would change and be a bit more dynamic. Whereas if you had it tied to their attendee data, well, even if they came later or whatever it was, it would stay consistent.
Okay.
If you had a way of just kind of doing another import or something of the people and their date, that their completion date or something, maybe.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. That gets me the same result, different
Yeah,
path. Well, thank you.
cool. You're welcome. Hope your voice bounces back.
Thank you.
And Jeff,
Yeah.
I have an idea on the interface issue you were having. I noticed that it looked like what you were
Hmm.
doing was trying to hover over the menu and then select the sub menu. But when you click the menu item, it expands in line on the left hand side. And then you can come down and click the sub menu right there, as opposed to trying to select it from that hovering sub menu. So anyway, it's one
That's
of
a
the things
great
that
point,
occurred
Muddy.
to me.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I'm trying that now. It's perfect.
yeah. You're certainly not doing anything wrong by trying to go over the hover, but Muddy, you're absolutely right. You can click on a parent, and then the child options will appear without any hover. Yeah, so that's one way of doing it. But that was odd though. Sometimes you can get weird combinations of the window size and the zooming, and then now things can be slightly wacky. Um, so if that happens again, it would be interesting to zoom out, zoom in, resize the window, and see if it's still doing it, because that would be interesting.
Yeah, it looks like in Chrome here it's actual size, but
Okay.
I do have it full screened as far as the window itself, the Chrome window.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, you're using full screen. Oh, you can't do that. You can't use. That's the problem. No, I'm joking.
Breaking everything.
Yes. Yeah. No. All right. Anything else, Heather?
Yep. Jeffrey says, with my marketplace being turned on now, I will set up Stripe. Would I be able to charge registrants through the Obvio dashboard? And then I'm also looking to do a promotional event that would charge a fee that would go to a charity. Would I be able to direct Stripe to the account of the charity for that event only?
Mm. It's it's unlikely to do it that way. Um, as in, it's unlikely to get the charity to have a Stripe account that you're tying it all to. So it would be it's more doing the process of receiving the funds and then having the process of sending them off to the charity. And one of the things with all of that is the fees. It's kind of the admin costs and things, and so you want to just be clear about how much how much there is in fees and how much is actually going to go to the charity, so that you kind of upfront about that. Sometimes people do with that. They'll say, to give a $50 donation, it's actually going to cost to give $50 exactly to the charity. It's actually going to cost $3 or whatever it is, right? And so sometimes people say, if you want to give the true $50 and pay the admin for all of that to work, then actually, if you give us $54, then it will all be covered, and the charity will get $50. So there's just things to think about with that sort of thing, and then you're just doing a bulk transfer to the charity. I think you'll find that would be the easier way to do it. It would be very tricky to get the charity to have a Stripe account. It's not just them plugging in a few details. It's quite complex to get that Stripe account set up for a large organization. So that was the second question. The first question was,
he wanted to know, would he be able to charge registrants through the Obvio dashboard?
Yeah, and that's the whole purpose of Marketplace, is to be able to sell tickets, and so you're creating a ticket, and then that ticket is creating an attendee in Obvio, and so you can set up those tickets to be however much you want, as in they can be free, and then they can be whatever price that you want to set them at, and you can have any combination of different tickets as well. And so that's how you can do different levels of general admission or VIP or whatever it is. And all of that then ties back to the Stripe account, as in that's how the payment is processed. It is your Stripe account. It's nothing to do with Obvio. Obvio is just the go-between that's getting the ticket set up and then having the payment process through Stripe and into your own Stripe account. It's kind of like a bank at that point. And then so we're never touching money. Obvio is not handling money at all. It's just handing you off to Stripe to handle all of that. So yeah, that's exactly what it is. And I think, Heather, we've probably got a little video about Marketplace.
Yes,
Yep.
I think I might have sent it to you, Jeffrey, when I enabled it for you on how to create the marketplace.
I'll check the email again, Heather. Thanks.
If not, let me know. I'll send it to you. It's just a YouTube link.
Great. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Cool.
The next question is also from Jeffrey. He wants to know how to embed the participant link.
Sorry, Muddy.
Yeah. Real quick question. Sorry, Heather. And I was typing this out, but it has to do with this question around Marketplace. And I think Blue mentioned on the call last week, which was news to me, that you may have worked it out that if you have a free ticket and only a free ticket, you may not even need to connect Stripe in order to have Marketplace work with a free ticket. And that's awesome. And I'm just kind of verifying that is true.
Yeah, that's our plan. And so we're still just stepping through that process, and as we are with all of the sort of Marketplace, trying to get that out of beta. But yeah, we figure it is silly to require Stripe if you're not doing any payment processing at all, but you want a sales page or a fancy sign up page, then that's the plan. So that you can have people sign up to a free event using a cool looking Marketplace sales page and not need Stripe at all. So yeah, that's the direction we're going. Sorry, Heather, that's a question. Next one.
No worries. Jeffrey wants to know how to embed the participant link in the button that is available in the broadcast email. So putting the magic URL into a button.
Okay, in a button in the email. Is that what we're talking about? Yep. Yes. So I think I might have noticed that there was a little, the login button may have not been there. But essentially what we're using is sort of like merge codes, or they're a little placeholder, and it's login URL. So if, let me just see, for those that have weren't on right at the start of the session, I'm on a cruise ship at the moment, and it's working surprisingly well. At least people seem to be hearing me okay. But I was just going to say I might share my screen, and then it might shut down. Might be like, that's too much data. But we'll see. So what it is there's the variables login URL. If we were to, I'll try screen sharing. Let's push this satellite link. Okay. So when we're doing a button in here, first of all, let me just say, so variables login URL. That's what we want. So what would happen in this email is that this would be replaced with the link, the individual's unique link, for them to access the dashboard. So if we think of this as this would be just the URL itself, and it would not necessarily be a link. It would just be the raw text that would be there. If we wanted to make this a link, then I can hover that, say link, and then I can hit here, make it the login URL, and there it goes. So now that link will be the login URL. So in the email, this would get replaced with the link. You'd see that there, but it wouldn't necessarily be clickable. This one is clickable, and it is the login URL. And then I'm just going to copy that. I think when we go here, we've got a button. I can say what is the text that I want it to be, and then the link. Yeah, we're missing the login. So what we're doing here is just replacing the link to be login URL for the button, and now that's what the link will be. And now that is a button in the email that'll go to their login link. So it's a matter of just putting in that code, and then that'll work. Does that make sense?
Yes, great. Grant, now, could you just go back to...
Sorry, yep.
Righto.
I can. Let me start it again.
Oh, okay. Well, thanks. I do have...
Sorry, hang on. I got the wrong one. There we go. Yes.
Right. Well, I'm clear about the button now. Okay. Now, just to make it so I really have it in my head, when you put it over the dashboard, what did you then click up to above it? Was that the link that was up there?
Yeah.
For dashboard.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
So I changed the text first to say what do I want the button text to be, and then the link itself, I want it to be this.
Right.
So,
and you copied that from when you had clicked on variables.
Yes,
And you put it down in the body,
right.
and then you're going to delete that.
Yeah.
Then, correct?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Just copy that.
I'm clear about that. But then when below that, where you wrote out the word dashboard, and then you went up and you clicked on something above that, where it says in the choose heading area. What did you click on? Was that left-hand side where it looks like the link connector for not there, but the word dashboard, not in the button, but over, yes.
This one? Yeah.
Right,
Yeah, so that's when I was, if I was
correct.
wanting to create a link,
Yeah,
I'm I'm writing the text that I want the link to be, selecting the text, and then saying
right,
let's make that a link. And
right.
then I could in this particular one, which is what we should have in the button as well. But in this particular one, there is a shortcut to adding the login URL text into the link URL,
Great, got that.
and then that creates it. Yep.
Perfect.
Is that good?
Yep, I got it.
Sweet.
Super.
Great. All right. What's next?
Jeffrey also wants to know for certificates, would you use a PDF or a Word document for you to be able to edit the place where the recipient's name is?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch this first part of that.
For certificates,
Yeah.
what you would upload, would it be a PDF or a Word document?
Oh, yes, it's a PDF. Yeah. Yeah, and you want to do a PDF because it's more definite as to how it's going to appear, rather than it trying to convert, Word documents and things. So a PDF is going to be the best way to do that. And that way you can create the PDF wherever you want it. Yep.
Right. The question came because you were responding to Jeff earlier about his certificate, and then it looked like he was, as an example, going in and putting the name in the certificate for the individual name. So that's why I asked if it could be a Word doc or a PDF.
I see.
So I don't know how you'd edit a PDF inside of Obvio.
Yeah, you're not technically editing, although it's essentially layers, right? So you're bringing in a background layer, which is the PDF, and then you're just overlaying the text in Obvio, and then Obvio's joining that as a PDF, is making that as one PDF. And so you're not actually editing the PDF in Obvio, you're just layering over the top. It's putting another layer, and that's where the Obvio text comes in. So that's what Obvio is doing in the background. So you create a PDF template with no, name data or anything specific to the user or the attendee. You bring that into Obvio, and then you're adding in those text fields over the top of that PDF, and now that's how it's creating the certificate.
Right. So then I'm assuming that in that area where it says certificate, that it's going to have something that I would be able to click on, that it's going to say, put a text box here or something of that nature, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
yes.
well, I'll just experiment with that and see. Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
Oh, would you be able to do different fonts? Does it give you a selection of fonts?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. You sure can. Yep. Yeah, it's quite powerful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Righto. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Muddy would like to offer a show and tell.
Oh.
How to get a side-by-side look with an art layer in the background.
Yeah, great. Go for it, Muddy. Thanks.
So Holly Sutherland, who is an Obvio user and a leaper and who's done multiple events, I think she said this was maybe her fourth time she was going to be running her 3-day event. She wanted to level her event up a little bit, and she saw recently, or she shared a screenshot from a recent Leap call that showed this side-by-side view where Barry was talking with one of the audience members who was raising their hand, and behind them they had an art layer, they had a picture, and she was asking how this was done. And the way that was specifically done was through hardware. That was using a hardware switcher and bringing those together into something that's called SuperSource. But I shared with Holly that there's a way to get that look right within, or get pretty close to that look right within Zoom without using kind of external and special tools. And in fact, when you use hardware it actually makes audio a little bit harder when the person's in the same meeting. So we talked through some of that, and I offered to meet with her and kind of show her this. And so we did. We just had a call this week and showed her that. And with her permission, I recorded a little segment. But what we were able to do and what I was able to show her is this side-by-side look, which is really done through, and I'll show you how to do this, but you can multi-spotlight. So in Zoom, you can spotlight one attendee or one participant. Take it back. The host or co-host has the ability to spotlight a participant for everyone. So you can spotlight the presenter. Once the presenter is spotlit, you can hover over another participant, either in the participant list or in the kind of row of videos across the top, click the 3 dots on them and say, there's an option that shows up that says add spotlight. And when you do that, it brings both of them into spotlight in this kind of side-by-side view, which is pretty similar, pretty close to kind of what she was going for with that more advanced look. That's not new. That's been available in Zoom for a while. In fact, from version 4.2.2, because I remember recording a video on that. But and you can multi-spotlight up to 9 participants, which means if you want to have a panel discussion, you can actually bring in multiple people and they're all kind of on the screen for everyone. And the advantage is that it shows that for everyone. Everyone is kind of seeing that view. Now, what's new is being able to add what Zoom is calling wallpaper, meeting wallpaper, behind the participants. So rather than just having a black screen behind them, which is what you would normally have, there's now something available called meeting wallpapers. And this is available for the host and co-host, the same place you would click the view button to switch between like gallery view and speaker view. If you are the host or co-host, you'll see an option under that view menu that says set meeting wallpaper. And when you do that, it brings up a little dialog box and it shows Zoom has about a dozen or so preloaded wallpapers. Most of them are kind of abstract, colorful things. So they work on different resolutions and things like that. A couple of them have kind of scenes or a little bit more whimsical stuff, but you can choose from those preset wallpapers and it will show up for everyone behind the videos. In fact, if they're in gallery view, it shows behind the gallery view, but it also, in this case, when you have a multi-spotlight, and this works great as the host when you're bringing in someone for Q&A or something like that, you're bringing them into the hot seat for a one-on-one conversation in front of everyone. It just helps level up the production a little bit to have a look behind it or a scene, something colorful, pretty behind it rather than just black. So we just recorded a video on that, and I'll post that in. I was going to post it in the Leap group, but I don't see any reason I shouldn't post it in the Obvio group, so that folks can. It's about a 20-minute recording, and it walks through how to do that. And again, you need to be the host or co-host. The last thing I'll tell you is that this is also available if you have a paid Zoom account, right? So this is available on the Obvio Enterprise Zoom account. It's also available on your own paid Zoom account. This is a paid feature. So if you're in a free Zoom account, this isn't available. But if you're in a paid Zoom account, if you have your own paid Zoom account, this is available. And if you do that, you also can go into Zoom's web settings at zoom.us and upload your own images that then become available in that library of images that you can choose as your meeting wallpaper. So this again, we're deviating a little bit from the Obvio Zoom meeting, but for your own Zoom meeting, if you wanted to do this and you wanted to have your own branded meeting wallpaper, you could do that. We don't have access to the Obvio web settings, but something for the long range roadmap. I know that Grant wants, envisions a time when we might have meeting options that we could kind of go in and tweak and set at a meeting per meeting level. This might be one of them, kind of meeting wallpapers that you could upload. So, but anyway, just wanted to showcase that this kind of look gives you definitely a leveled up, more professional look. And all of these options are available right within Zoom. And the dozen or so wallpapers that Zoom provides are all pretty cool and classy, and I think will work well for most meetings. So I don't miss the fact that I can't upload my own wallpapers in an Obvio account. All the other things offset that. So thanks for letting me share.
That's really cool, buddy. Thank you. Yeah, it's a great way of getting a look and doing it all within Zoom. I was just double checking. I don't think at the moment they have API access for uploading the wallpapers, which is what we would need to be able to do it through Obvio.
There's one other thing I learned actually when talking with Holly. So this feature came out in Zoom 6.0. So we're now at like 6.2 or something is the latest, greatest version of Zoom. But this came available with 6.0. Holly actually in our call was still in version 5 something. And so when I demoed this, she didn't see the meeting wallpaper. It still looked black to her on her end. And so part of what she said is, how do I help people make sure that they're on the latest version? And so we talked through in the recording, you'll hear we talked through some strategies, one of which is just send people zoom.us/download in one of their welcome emails and say, hey, we're going to be using some of the latest features. Make sure you're on the latest. The second line of defense was, if you have tech check, which she's planning to do, add that to the checklist of tech check. Let's make sure you're on the latest, greatest version of Zoom. And there's a way right within Zoom to see in the settings what version you're on. And I showed that in the video. But I also, the takeaway was, for those that are on version 6.0 or later, great. This is a bonus. The main feature we want is this side-by-side view. The background is really just kind of bonus on that. And so if people are on a lower version and they only see a black background, yeah, no big deal. They can still see the side-by-side. So that was something that I learned. So it was kind of good that she wasn't on version 6. So we could learn what happens if people aren't on the latest version.
Yeah. That and the more time that passes, the more, well, apart from everyone actually getting the update, Zoom eventually sort of deprecates the previous versions, and then it's like now there's a minimum requirement. And there was a time where we really had to push a minimum version for certain features, and we haven't needed to do that as much these days. But there might come a time where we just have to say everyone needs to be on at least 6, and that will fix those problems. So that's great. Thank you, Muddy. It's a good deep dive into that. Yeah, and the Obvio channel will be awesome for that video too. Thank you. Okay. Heather, anything else?
Yes. Ben said, I really love using the magic link. If I understand it right, this is made through Obvio's broadcast. My question is, however, how is the event registration done with another mail provider? Just a link, or are there more registration settings to be sure the links are not shared between people?
Yeah, so a couple of separate things there. The link itself takes people to the dashboard automatically, as you know, right? So it logs them in, and now they're on the dashboard. That link, no matter how people get that link, could be shared. They could share that to all their friends. All their friends could click that link and could get to the dashboard. We don't restrict how many devices per attendee can get to the dashboard. Where the default settings that we have for Zoom is that we do restrict, once people get into Zoom, it's called the multi-device little option there. We restrict people going joining Zoom from multiple devices, and that's where the security is, right? And so generally that's not a big deal to allow people to see the dashboard, as many people as you like. But as soon as that one person is in Zoom, the next time someone else tries to join, it's going to say that you've already joined from another device. And that's how we manage that security. So that's the second part of what you're talking about, the security of how we're managing it, not just being shared. That works great. So then the other part of just getting the URL out to everyone, that's where there's a few different ways, right? The most basic way is that you type in the first name, last name, email into the attendee field. You then click on their name, and now their URL is at the top, and you can copy it and paste it into an email, right? That's the most basic. And if you only had an event with 5 people, that would be quite fun. Once obviously your event scales, the next option is to export your list of attendees. So when you're looking at your attendees, you can see attendee tools. You click on that, and there's an option to export attendees. When you export the attendees, you're going to get all of the data: first name, last name, email, tags, any groups that they're in, as well as the login URL. And this is in a CSV, like in a spreadsheet file. That could be used in a number of ways. That spreadsheet document could be imported into a mail program to be able to send out all the emails and to merge in all the unique URLs, right? So that could be done. So this is kind of a semi-automatic way of doing it, right? Where you're downloading the export file, importing it into the program that you want to send your emails, and away it goes. The next step is the integrations that we already have, the service integrations that we have. So things like MailChimp and High Level and Keep, and all of these different ones that we've built specific integrations for. They all work in a very similar way, and that is that when in the CRM that you're using, when an attendee has registered or whatever process you're using in that, they've said that they want to come, that CRM sends the first name, last name, and email to Obvio, and Obvio sends back the login URL. That then gets stored in sort of a custom field within the CRM, and now you're able to send that in your normal campaigns, normal ways that you're sending out your emails. You can now send it and use the custom field, the login URL, and now that's how people get their emails. Okay, so that's that step of using an integration. Similarly, we have an integration with Zapier. Zapier then can tie that whole process into thousands of other systems, literally thousands of other CRMs and other systems that you might want to integrate with Obvio. And that same concept applies, where it's what Obvio wants is a first name, a last name, and email. And then it will return, often it returns everything. It returns first name, last name, email, and login URL. And whatever you want to do with that login URL is what you can tie into Zapier, which is an automation tool. And then I think you also mentioned, because of all those weird and wonderful steps we're talking about, we did build our own broadcast engine, communication engine into Obvio, where you can simply send, as I'm not sure if you were on the call just before when I was showing Jeffrey how to put those login URLs into the broadcast email. But being able to send an email directly from Obvio with the unique login URL already done is why we built that in. We sort of manage these two ends of the spectrum. You've got a really basic event, you just want to send the emails out, you can do it all in Obvio. You've got a more complex event with a large list that you're managing over multiple events, and you're wanting to track, your list and try to see, they attended this event, and then they signed up for this different event, and then they did this, and then they received that email, and then they leaked. You want to really track your list. then you use a CRM that's designed to do that, and we allow that integration. You know, we've got the system for that. But a very basic kind of simple one-off type event, you just need to send the emails out. You can do that within Obvio. I probably told you much more than you needed there, Bent, but is that helpful? Okay, cool. Great.
All right.
Excellent.
Jeffrey said, for Muddy, thanks for helping me with the Elgato teleprompter issue. I'm thinking of getting a cheap, maybe use computer just to run the Elgato. What would be the minimum system requirements if I did that?
Is Muddy still there? Oh,
Well, yeah, no, I switched to my mobile because I'm going down to cook dinner. What I noticed is that the Elgato prompter has, so the Elgato prompter can work with multiple computers, but the feature we were specifically trying to troubleshoot has to do with something they added in the latest version of the software, whereby the text will scroll as you talk. So as you talk, it's listening for you using your computer's graphics card, the horsepower from the graphics card, specifically an NVIDIA graphics card, to listen and use AI to kind of follow along with you as you're reading. So to be clear, in this, I'm saying this for the benefit of everyone, the Elgato prompter can work on lots of different computers, but you may have to scroll the text either manually with a mouse or keyboard, or just set it to a speed and it constantly kind of moves at that speed. What we were trying to troubleshoot is this new latest greatest feature of voice prompt following you. And it turns out that NVIDIA or Elgato has posted the minimum requirements for that feature, and those minimum requirements include an NVIDIA graphics card specifically. So when I get back up to my studio, I'll see if I can find that, or Jeff, I'll just send it to you directly is really more realistic. I'll find the link for what that requirement is and send it to you. The reality is getting an old computer to run it is probably not the right way to think about going forward, potentially, but NVIDIA graphics cards, so every computer needs a graphics card to be able to run the graphics. Many computers have a built-in graphics card, especially many all-around computers or kind of computers that are built for office tasks have a built-in graphics card. It's also possible to get what they call a discrete graphics card, a separate, more powerful graphics card. You can find them in laptops. You can find them more readily in desktop computers, and especially for computers that are built for gaming. So my general advice is when you're looking for a computer that has a graphics card, you're looking at computers that are kind of designed for gaming. And generally speaking, if I have a client who's asking what kind of computer should I get to be running virtual events, that's the easiest criteria to tell them. Look for a computer that's built for gaming, and it should be plenty powerful enough for virtual events. So I'll find the specifics for your question about what do we need to run that. But generally speaking, that's the situation we're trying to troubleshoot.
Yeah, thanks, Muddy. You'll recall that the issue there was about that it required to allow sharing. And for some reason, we had everything turned on and we couldn't really kind of get it to work. And my problem was I actually had it working once before. And then I clicked on something, I don't know what it was, and then I could never get back. So that's why I was thinking about another computer.
Yeah, I do remember that. And that you're running a Mac. And so before I would buy another, let me make sure I'm unmuted. I am. Okay. Before you buy another computer, one thing I would see if is available is perhaps the thing you clicked on was updating the software. So perhaps you can roll back the Elgato software to a previous version of the Elgato software and see if that works. I would try that first before I get another computer. But you're right. We were just trying to get the base functionality of it to show up as another monitor the way it should. So an older computer or a different computer should be able to do that. And I saw a question, Windows 11, the software is available on both Windows and Mac, so it should work. But I do remember, Jeff, that we were having trouble specifically getting it to even show up as a recognized device. And it was weird, and we tried several things and weren't able to get it. So I would try to see if there's an older version of the Elgato Camera Hub software available, and try that first. And then if that doesn't work, then if there's another computer around the house, you might just try it on that as a next step before you go and buy one, just to see if it'll even connect, and just kind of validate your theory that an older computer might work for that.
Great, thanks, Muddy. Yeah, I just wanted to be able to operate the Elgato. Okay, thank you.
Cool.
All right. Bent says, I use vMix. Is vMix as easy to use with native Zoom? Is there a direct integration now, or is there anything special I should be aware of?
Yeah. So as a switcher, as a software switcher, vMix is very powerful, and they do have a Zoom integration. However, because of the security systems that we have in place with Obvio, you currently can't join as the native integration that vMix has with Zoom. You can't join an Obvio Zoom meeting using that because it's because of the security that we have in place. So therefore, the only way to do it currently is to do sort of the virtual web cameras and things like that. So you can create the virtual camera in vMix, and then you can see that in Zoom, and that's how you get your image in. Is that your experience? Yeah, go back.
Well, yeah, just a follow-up question on that. I had used a previous version. I haven't upgraded in a while, so I have been using the virtual cables for the audio.
Yes.
And I was just going to upgrade today because I was so much looking forward to stop using the virtual audio cables.
I
But-
see.
But then I can understand that when using vMix with Obvio, then I should continue to use it the way I have done it on the previous vMix versions. Is that correctly understood? And then
Yes.
it will work. Yeah.
Yeah. That's correct. At the moment, we're looking into it because there's a few systems when we're talking about how vMix has done an integration the same way as Ecamm on the Mac has also done that. As there's a few. There's Mimo Live. There's quite a few of these systems that have now got Zoom integration directly. But in order to join the Zoom meeting, it's the same security that we have as we were talking before, where an attendee can only join the Zoom meeting if they come through Obvio, and they essentially what happens is they are a registered user, and that's how they're able to access Zoom. When we're wanting a vMix to join, for example, it has that same issue, and it's not a registered user. It's not entering through Obvio, therefore it doesn't allow it in, and so it can't join the Obvio Zoom meeting, and so therefore the way you're using it at the moment is the only way that will work. But it is something that we're exploring because there's more and more of these programs that are doing these integrations.
It's a
Muddy?
fantastic it's a
Yeah.
fantastic tool.
Yes. Yeah. It is, and it is something that we want to explore, being able to support. Because it's sort of the same with Zoom OSC, Zoom ISO, things like that. So
Because this is for us that is not, or for us that is having our home studios and not being in
not
built
big ones.
studio. Yeah, we
Yes.
can make it like a real studio through those
Yeah.
tools. So it's, yeah, I have enjoyed it to use it on Zoom. But anyway, it's not a problem because it's just to use it the way, but not like I was hoping to use it with the direct integration.
Yep. Yeah.
So
Look, there is always pros and cons to one system that's doing everything, too, right? So, and so by having it separate, and ideally you can actually have a separate computer that is doing the Zoom functionality, and then vMix could be sending it into that other computer. And so sometimes there's advantages to separating out the different tasks that you're doing, so that you don't lose everything if one computer stops working.
yeah, I see. Anyway, but thank you. I'll just keep on using the virtual cables then for the sound.
Yes. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
how you need to do it for now.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, of course. Muddy, you want to add to that?
I do one thing. I think that's so. Kudos for using vMix, very powerful tool, and it can give a lot of production value from a home studio. And in fact, the good news is you can continue to use it the same way you're using it to get you into Zoom through the virtual camera and to kind of add all of the bells and whistles that vMix can provide to get you into vMix or to get you into Zoom. These integrations that Grant is talking about, and Sarah asked about the Ecamm one last week or the week before. These integrations are primarily designed to pull Zoom into your production system, right? So the advantage of the vMix integration is it would let you pull isolated videos and audios from Zoom into vMix that you can then send somewhere else, like in a conference room screen or a live stream or something like that. So those integrations really don't help you a whole lot about getting you into Zoom, and they really don't add much to get you into Zoom. So good news is you're not missing much. Most of those integrations are designed for production systems to be able to pull content, pull guest speakers like that, pull them from Zoom into vMix or into Ecamm or into some of these other tools. So anyway, I just thought that was a good distinction and hopefully a word of encouragement.
Yeah, that is an important distinction. Thank you. Yes, it really is about
So,
that
so
flow.
that means that means that even if there could still be some benefits from using the workaround and not the direct integrations, if I understand.
Yes, that's correct, because
Yeah.
in the way that you're contributing from vMix into Zoom, you might likely continue to do it the same way that you're doing it, rather than the idea that you're using it as a contribution tool, Zoom to create your production. It's two very separate things.
Okay, thanks.
Sure. Okay, next question, Heather.
This is from Jeffrey. I think it's going back to when Muddy was doing his little show and tell kind of thing, but he just wanted to clarify if you're saying that you don't need a switcher to do the side-by-sides. That is correct. You do not need the switcher for the side-by-side. He will
That's
post
right. Yeah, that's right. He's going to post. Thank you. Sorry, Heather. He's going to post that video as like a 20-minute talk walkthrough of how to do that all within Zoom. And so what Blue was doing, what Blue does at the studio there is uses a hardware switcher, an ATEM constellation that does a super source and does that. And so it's totally separate to what Muddy was talking about. What Muddy's talking about though is achieving very similar, a very similar output by being able to do a side by side or a panel of up to 9 people, which without needing hardware or anything other than Zoom to be able to make that happen. So it'll be worth watching Muddy walk through that when he posts that video.
And those are up now. Those are posted in the Obvio and the Leap group.
Nice. Thanks, Muddy. Okay.
All right.
Next question.
Jeffrey wanted to just clarify with the broadcast. If you send a broadcast email from Obvio with the link, they do not need to log in when they arrive to the dashboard.
That's correct. Yep. So the magic link, the login URL, will take them straight to the dashboard as them. So it logs them in. They don't have to enter any data. They don't have to put their email address in or anything. It just takes them straight in to the dashboard. Yep.
All right.
Great.
And then Cynthia said, can you use Ozbot tracking camera with the Elgato teleprompter?
Yeah. Muddy, any specifics on that? I mean, yeah, any camera will work, and it's designed as a smaller sort of one. Yeah.
And the way the Elgato prompter works is it comes with a series of different attachments for the back of it. So the main body is kind of one piece, which is the angled screen and the display, but then it has 2 thumb screws on the back, and it ships with a number of different back attachments. One that works with their face cam webcam, one that works with a DSLR camera that will fit over your lens, and then one that is a little platform that has a little quarter 20 screw on the bottom that you can attach any kind of camera, including a phone. And then there's like a little cloth shroud that you kind of drape over that camera to keep light out so you can see clearly through it. And so the ObSpot camera will work, the Insta360 Link camera will work. Now just keep in mind, those tracking cameras, they're like mini PTZ cameras, and they can be used in tracking mode, but they can also just be kind of manually configured to look left or right. It is possible that you could look far enough left or right that you see the inside edge of the prompter, right? So it could be a little bit of an obstruction at the kind of edges of its field of view. So even though it is a tracking camera, you're going to want to try and stay pretty centered in the frame so that you don't kind of see the inside of the prompter. But yeah, it comes with everything you need to make that work.
Thank you. I haven't mastered the tracking camera yet, but I've been playing around with it, and hopefully I get it down at some point. Thanks, Muddy. Thanks, Grant.
Yeah. Yeah, it is pretty cool when you can walk around. Well, great. We have no more questions, and actually, we normally hang around to the full 2 hours, but I'm not going to tempt fate with my connection on this cruise ship. It's actually worked better than I thought it would have. But I also just wanted to give a huge shout out to Muddy. Just so people know, Muddy's not paid by Obvio in any way. He's not on staff at all. He's actually pays significant money to Obvio and to Leap to make it all happen. But he continues to, he's always always available and quickly to respond in the Obvio group on Facebook, and also just willing to share all of these things. Now, obviously, sometimes that returns in some business, but I totally don't believe that that is the heart of Muddy. He's just willing to share his knowledge and to get that out, and that has a real just a real heart to see it all work for people. And I just really appreciate it, Muddy. You put a lot of time and energy into helping a lot of people, and it's really appreciated. So thank you. All right. Okay. Well, I'm trying to think. No, I'm off the boat. Next week I'll be home. So we'll do it all again next week at 5 p.m. Eastern. And remember, you can post questions anytime throughout the week in the same way that you posted them today. And then, of course, you can also email us at help@obb.io. Excellent. Thank you, Heather, as always. Awesome to have your support. And thanks to Starlink, who has supported us in making this happen from this cruise ship. All right, everyone. Bye-bye.